Welcome back to Central Valley Wedding and Special Events. I'm Shara Roderick, and I'm here with Brent DeShazer. Brent, I messed it up, of Sierra Portraits, and Denice Woyski. I got yours, Denice, of Denice Woyski Photography. It is great to have you both here. And I hear that you're coming on today to give us some expert advice on what couples should do to get the best photos from their wedding.
Yes.
I think that's wonderful that you're coming on and sharing that advice with us. But before we get to that, I would like to find out a little bit about you two. So you both are photographers.
Mm-hmm.
You have your own photography companies, but you also partner together.
Yes, we do.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, yeah, we're both wedding and portrait photographers. I think you've been doing it for a dozen, 12 years?
12 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I've been a professional photographer around 15. So, but yeah, we partner together. We always recommend for weddings, if you can, have two photographers.
I agree.
And it's great to have a second experienced photographer. So we call it second shooting. So, you get your primary photographer and then you bring in another photographer. And so we kind of back each other up in those scenarios. So.
Well, I think that's wonderful that you two are pairing up together, because very often, in my experience, at least with second shooters, it's a less experienced photographer. And they do all right, but, you have your lead person and then someone with maybe not so much experience.
Right.
So to have both of you who have 12 to 15 years of experience in this area, I feel like you have a better chance of getting pretty solid photos.
Right.
Exactly.
But going on with that, we'll get to the tips and tricks. Could you two tell me a little bit about when a couple is interviewing photographers? What should they be looking for? What should they be asking?
Go ahead.
I'll go. There's several main things that they should always take into consideration, and probably in almost every aspect of the wedding. Budget comes first.
Absolutely.
So you have to search within your budget. And then once you've found a group of photographers, and you always want to look at more than one, you should be looking at the quality of their work, their style. There's a lot of different styles, and probably the two most common are traditional and journalistic type. But some photographers can be a little edgy, maybe some are a little more romantic, some are more playful. So you want to look at essentially their body of work to see if what they do you like. And then obviously you want to check out their experience. You want to make sure that they have the experience to cover your wedding the way you want it to be covered. And also we consider personality a big factor, because the photographer is one of your vendors you spend all day with. And it's better to spend all day with someone you like than to kind of wish maybe you'd chosen someone else. So,
Well, I completely agree with that. And, it's not my personal story. It's my mother's story from her wedding. She and the photographer did not quite mesh. And that is one thing that stands out to her from her wedding, is their personalities kind of clashing a bit. And so I think that's so important for couples to look at during that interviewing process, if they get along with that person or not. Because not everybody meshes.
that's true. And I think, sorry, and I also think that if you, as the photographer, like the couple, you really want to take great photos of them. And if you, the couple, really like your photographer, the photographer can get better photos of you because you're comfortable with them. You enjoy being around them, and so it works much better that way. Yes.
Absolutely. And on that vein of getting the better photos, do you have any tips for couples as far as how to get those really good photos for their wedding day?
We have a lot.
Let's hear some, Brent.
Well, obviously making sure that, your outfits are going to fit, for both obviously the dress as well as, whatever he happens to be wearing, so tux or whatever. Good fitting clothes will make a huge difference.
Comfortable shoes.
Right.
Oh, that's a good point.
And, considering things like, sometimes it's better to consider, a dress with straps versus going with something that's strapless, depending on individuals. But,
Sure.
From a photography standpoint, a lot of times, your eye gets drawn to places where, maybe they shouldn't in a photo.
Right.
And so, a good dress with sleeves, can sometimes hide. A lot of women are self-conscious about their arms and how they look, but, it's very popular to wear strapless dresses, for instance. So,
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
that trade-off and those considerations there. doing trial runs with makeup and hair,
Okay.
and not trying something completely different, for the wedding day
That's a
than
good
what
point.
maybe you practiced with before. It's just important for you to be comfortable with how you look. That's going to give you a confidence, which will then show through in the photos. So.
Now, do you find with the makeup and hair that there is a real benefit in the photography aspect for having it professionally done, having the professional makeup as opposed to what you might buy from the drugstore? Does that make a difference?
Yeah, I mean, professional makeup and hairstylists, I mean, they are professional. They know what they're doing. A lot of my portrait work I've used, I like to use makeup artists just because they know what they're doing. They're very comfortable with the products that they're using,
Right.
know how they're going to look best on people. So, absolutely.
And I found that brides tend to feel better when someone has made them feel like queen for a day too.
Well, I would agree with that, and I think that goes back to you saying the comfortable shoes and liking your photographer, because you can do the fake smile all you want, but going back and looking at them, you can tell if you genuinely felt good.
That's right. That's exactly
So
right.
thinking about that kind of behind-the-scenes stuff of actually making sure that you yourself feel as comfortable as possible, it sounds like that really translates over in the photos.
Yes, it does. You can see when they're smiling with their eyes and when they're not.
And what about on the wedding day? Is there a number one tip that you would give to brides and grooms going into it? It's a huge day. It's stressful. What would be the advice you give them?
My advice would be whether you've kind of done it yourself, you've done all the planning and stuff yourself, or you have a wedding coordinator, transfer all that responsibility to friends, family, or your coordinator for the day of. Be the bride and groom. Enjoy your day. Don't try to be the caterer and the florist and the coordinator or whatever.
The photographer.
That's right. The photographer.
Director, right.
Right. Just be the bride and groom and enjoy the day as the bride and groom.
Yeah, trust the professionals you hire to do their jobs. That's what we're there for. We have the experience to do that, and just relax and have fun. So.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And I'm actually getting married next month.
Oh, congratulations.
And I am planning it pretty much all myself. But that has been my main goal, is that I'm going to plan it well enough that on the day,
Yes.
I do not have to, I'll be hands off. I do not have to worry about it. So I think that's an excellent
plan.
I think it's a great word of advice to give to couples, that on that day, enjoy it, because you only have it once.
Exactly. And all those little details that need to be handled on your wedding day that you could pass off to a friend or a family member, if you're worrying about them, the distraction will show in the photos. Like maybe you'll be looking that way, or your face is pointed that way and your eyes are going that way while you're listening to someone else. So the fewer distractions you have, the better. And that will help your photos look better, but it will also just make your day better.
It sounds like a good tip to me. Well, thank you both so much for coming on and giving us this expert advice. I think it's very beneficial for couples that are in that planning stage. Now, if people want to book with either of you, how do we get in touch?
We both have our own email addresses and websites. Mine should be at the bottom of your screen. You can contact me through Woyski.com, my last name, or my email is Denice@Woyski.com, or you can contact Brent.
Brent at SierraPortraits.com. I do have a website as well, SierraPortraits.com, but at Sierra Portraits on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I get a lot of, communication happens these days via social media, so a lot of times that's where my first contact comes from. So at Sierra Portraits is probably the best way to reach me.
Wonderful. Well, it was so great to meet you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming
Thank
on.
you.
It
It was our pleasure.
wonderful to have you, and we look forward to having you back again.
Thank you.
Thank you.